Okay, so the movie I watched was called The Adaptation. And basically, what it's about is this is the main character named Charlie, who also plays the role of his twin Donald. And they're both the screenplay writer. And basically, Charlie feels a lot of anxiety because he's trying to write a movie about a book that he didn't write himself. And he really wants it to be different, and he doesn't want it to be like all these basic Hollywood films. So he's struggling a lot because he feels like his movie isn't going to be good enough or it's going to be boring, and he starts to feel a little bit of anxiety because his brother Donald's movie sells like immediately. So this makes him feel like really frustrated and anxious. Like, why is he doing better than me? Why can't I do as good of a job? So he really degrades himself in a lot of the situations that he's in throughout the movie. And so, like I said, his name was Charlie Kaufman, and I would diagnose him with social anxiety because, like I said, his brother unintentionally makes him feel insecure because his movie sells, and people are really expecting a lot from Charlie because he's written a lot of movies before, but he always feels like this outcast, and trying to do something new is really like causing a lot of anxiety on him and a lot of overthinking, and he feels like people are judging him, and he's unable to express his emotions to this girl that he likes, and he finally takes her on the date in the beginning of the movie, and you can just see he's really awkward, and he doesn't kiss her, and then he overthinks that he didn't kiss her or walk her to the door, and then they never go on another date, so that causes him to do a lot more overthinking about himself, but it ends up working out for him at the end of the movie. And then another example is that he wants to go talk to the author that wrote the book. Like, he needs more information from her, and he flies all the way to New York, and he gets super anxious and doesn't go in. So he sends his brother Donald in because that's his twin. And so he pretends to be him, and he gathers all the information that he needs for Charlie. And like, before he starts to get better, like, things start going right for him. He's really mean to other people, and especially to his brother, but they start to get along towards the end of the movie. So I would say just like a little bit more evidence that he has social anxiety. He does a lot of overthinking like right off the bat. So whenever the movie starts, it shows Charlie and he's laying in bed, and he's really degrading himself, calling himself fat, and why does he look like this? Why doesn't he have a girlfriend? Why isn't he doing better? What can he do to solve all of his problems? He needs money. Like, anything you could think of. And he's like, oh, maybe this would help my anxiety. So he knows that he has it himself. He just hasn't fixed it. And he has a job interview, and to like to get the job for writing the movie. And so whenever the lady's like reading his resume, she hasn't even said anything, and Charlie's profusely sweating, and he's shaking his leg and in his head. He's like, she doesn't like me. I don't have the job. There's no way I'm gonna get it. And then she pokes her head up, and she's like, you have the job. And so he really like degrades himself, and he doesn't think very highly of himself. And then he also has a really hard time focusing, so whenever he sits down to write the script of the movie, he starts to think like, oh, I need coffee, I need food, maybe I need that to start focusing. And then he's like, no, I just need to focus and sit down, like, stop thinking. So he's making up all these scenarios in his head. He also daydreams a lot about women and like events coming up in his life. One symptom he never showed was that he never turned to substance abuse, so he never really drank alcohol or like smoked or did any kind of drugs. So I wouldn't say he also had depression either. I know depression is associated with anxiety disorders, but he wasn't lazy or messy or unmotivated or anything like that. So I wouldn't necessarily say he had depression. And so the treatment that I decided to give him was cognitive therapy, just because I don't think he has bad behavior, so I didn't think cognitive behavior therapy would be for him. He just does a lot of thinking, so basically if he went to cognitive therapy, they would help reconstruct his thoughts and his views differently in a more positive way. And it's just as effective as an antidepressant, just not as long lasting, so Charlie would need to continue to go to therapy regularly. And I don't think an antidepressant would be best for him, just because I think he would go to take the medicine and be like, well, what if this doesn't help? What if this makes me worse? What if people don't like me more? What if it changes how I act? Like, I think he would just have all these thoughts about it. So I don't think that would be the best one for him. And I think the only thing that would hold him back from going to therapy would be social barriers, because he already kind of feels like an outcast, and I feel like if people knew that he went to therapy and that he struggled with anxiety, he would really feel like people are looking at him. And so for broader perspectives, I said, is the question, is the portrayal of their disorder accurate and why? And I said yes, just because he does a lot of overthinking and sweating whenever he's nervous. And a lot of people with anxiety, and like, they overthink their actions, and they show a lot of visible characteristics to show when they are uncomfortable. And then the question, how does the film help us understand this disorder? I said that it helped us understand like what anxiety felt like and how they think. It really shows an insight into people's head that they don't say out loud. So it just shows all the thoughts that they normally have, but you would honestly just never know that they're struggling.